All right, welcome everybody. On today's episode of Relationship Talk, I am joined by my wife, Courtney, to have a little bit of a discussion of what our relationship is like, how we met, some things that we experienced up until this point. We are getting ready to celebrate our 6-year anniversary next month. And so today is my 44th birthday, and I asked her to join me to have a discussion today. So please be patient because this is her first time being on the mic. And so there's a little bit of some volume consistencies throughout the episode. But I hope that you guys get an opportunity to learn some things from our relationship and our experiences. Hope you enjoy. Yeah! 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 All right, welcome to Relationship Talk with Juanito. Today is a special day. It is my 44th birthday. And if you're new to the channel, please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And I am joined today by It's Up for Debate. My wife, Courtney, say hello to the people.
Hello, people.
Make sure that you're speaking into the mic and that you project so that they can hear you. All right. So, Courtney, as you being my wife and all, you know that I get on here and I talk about relationships. So, I felt like today we should just have a conversation about our relationship, how we met, and any little questions that may come up during our discussion. All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
I can't hear you.
Yes.
All right. So, Courtney, tell everybody how we met.
You put me on the spot there.
You got to speak into the mic.
You put me on the spot there. How about you take the lead?
All right. So, for those that don't know, me and Courtney met via Tinder initially. I was stationed at the U.S. Embassy in Belize. This is when I was in the military, and I was messing around on Tinder. Swiped right on Courtney. She swiped right on me, and we matched and we started talking. And then I went out to lunch one day, and apparently she was there at the restaurant while I was there. Didn't say anything to me until after she had already left the restaurant, and then sent me a message letting me know that she saw me at the restaurant. I kind of asked her why she didn't come up to me and speak, and she was acting all shy because she was there with some of her classmates and I was there with some of my coworkers, and so she didn't want to come up and introduce herself. So I asked her if she was going to be in town for the next day, and she said yes. So we decided to meet for lunch. And so we met for lunch. So, Courtney, tell everybody what your thoughts were during the day that we met for lunch.
Well, for one, I could not believe he was real because here I am meeting with this person on Tinder who I thought was catfishing me the whole time. And then I saw him in the restaurant and I was like, who's this fine specimen? And then I told him that I saw him for lunch and he was like, well, let's have lunch tomorrow. And that lunch turned forever into forever. But the day we went to lunch, it was picking me up. It was just like you open the car door and the entire car, so everything leads up to the moment. The car smells amazing. He looks amazing. He smells amazing. And then I'm there nervous when we finally get to the restaurant and he's just taking the lead on the conversation, just being confident. And it's like, who is this person? He's nothing like the men that I've met before. Do I even want to have a second date with this person?
So you said that you weren't sure if you wanted to have a second date. So why would you say the main reason why you were unsure of whether or not you wanted to have a second date?
Because you were just depicting confidence. I know who I am, I know what I want. and I was still figuring out my life. And you were the first man that I came across that just knew what they want. It was no BS. It was like either come prepared and ready to level up or walk away. And I wasn't sure that I was prepared for that because it wasn't someone that I've encountered before.
So when you say that you haven't encountered somebody like that before, you're from, well, obviously we met in Belize, right? What would you say the difference between someone like myself and someone like the men you had encountered when you were in Belize?
So, not to bash Belizean men, disclaimer, but coming from Belize, the women are more independent. The women tend to lead the household, and the men, they're just there as emotional support, as opposed to Juan, where he came with, no, I am the man, I am leading, I am bringing all my ideas, everything that I want to accomplish individually and as a couple. So that was definitely different, having a man be a man and just stepping up into the role that he was born to be.
And so, as you were processing how that first date went, what made you decide that you wanted to have a second date? Because it was really the second date that kind of set everything into motion.
It was just, I guess, everything about you. It was peeling back the layers of an onion. Wow. All of this in one date? What will the next conversation be like? It was just intriguing. It was that feeling of wanting to know more, wanting to explore this person. It was everything about you that was it. It was you either take one step through the door or leave it all.
So, that I have asked you this question, and being that you're taller than me, probably more attractive. If they had to put us side by side, you're probably more attractive than me. Well, I would say you're more attractive than me. There could have been a lot of reasons why you would say, no, I don't know if this is the guy for me, being that I'm shorter or that I'm not on an attractive level. What would be your top two or three reasons why you were like, I think I'm gonna go with this guy?
For me, it's definitely not about appearance and height. Those are things that you can't really change. It was somebody that who's mature, who knows what they want, and who just brings a level of, what's the word I'm looking for? The word's not coming to me. I guess consistency is the word that I'm looking for. Somebody that says something and they bring the action to prove it at the same time and not just talk.
And so those are the things that you saw about me. But you said that you weren't sure if you were ready to level up, right? So what do you think it was about yourself that was holding you back or gave you that slight hesitation for wanting to make that next move forward?
I guess a part of me still wanted to just have fun and not think about future plans, as opposed to when I met you, you were this person that knew what you wanted. So that required me to put fun in the back burner and think about my life, think about what we want.
So that was what, 8 ago? 9 years ago, I think. 7 years ago. Gotta make sure you're talking into the mic. And so here it is. It's been next month is our 6 month or six next month is our 6 year anniversary for us being married. When I tell the people the story about how you found how the quote unquote proposal was, not when you actually got the ring, but the decision was for us to get married.
I was at work one day and just going about my day and in the email there was an attachment. The attachment was an official letter with intent to marry. And I was like, what? And he was like, well, sign the papers and we're gonna basically get married.
So,
So,
so why was that a surprise to you?
because everything about you was if you say it, you'll do it. And it's hard to find men that when they say something, they're gonna do it. So in the back of my head, I was like, not expecting anything so you don't get heartbroken. But then here you are saying and doing everything. Actually, you didn't really talk much. You just did and brought the action.
And just so that everybody is tracking on what she means by that is just a little backstory is in May of 2019, I had to leave Belize and go on to my follow-on duty station in San Antonio, Texas, and there hadn't been any real discussion as to how our relationship was going to move from that point on. And it wasn't really until we had that discussion, or it wasn't until she received that email that we really had that discussion about us going forward. But a little bit more of a backstory is that Court had already told me a while back before that she wanted me to be her husband. And so I wasn't necessarily sure that that was the route that I wanted to go because I was looking for some reassurances that validated that she was the one for me. And so it took some time for those things to show up, but when they showed up, I knew that I wanted her to be my wife. With that being said, Court, what was it about me that made you know that you wanted me to be your husband?
I guess, well, I don't guess. It was just meeting you, spending all the time with you, just kept showing that you're a solid dude. And I don't want to lose this person in any form, whether it's friendship or the relationship continuing on. It was just like you just meet somebody and you bring so much positive, so much encouragement into your life. It's wow, I can't lose this person. So I knew and I did shoot my shot because I was like, you're going to be my husband. You don't know it yet, but I know it.
And so we've been married for going on 6 years. And what would you say are, because you did say that you knew that there were things that were going to have to change within your own life and some things that you were going to have to level up on. What do you think? What do you think some of those things are that you had to level up?
So to know me is to know that I am an optimist. You only live one type of person. Live in the moment. And with Juan is no. You gotta plan, you gotta execute the plan, you gotta be serious. And I guess it was just I wasn't all my life I've lived the optimism life, just being happy jolly. You only live once and then here comes one. You can be all of that, but you also gotta plan ahead. You also got to know what you want and be confident about that plan.
All right. And so are you saying that you struggled in some of those areas where the I operated from a standpoint of framework and structure, right? There is if we're going to do something, we're going to plan it out, we're going to execute it, we're going to give ourselves time to go through potential risk or what could potentially happen here, or making sure that we have enough money and all of these different things so that we have activities set up or things like that. Whereas you were more of we'll just figure it out when we get there.
Winging it.
And so, how has being married to someone that is like that been both a blessing and been both difficult?
A blessing because it's just a part of our everyday life now. Even when I think that I'm not planning ahead, I am. Not really a curse, but just an annoying fact. When you tell one something, he is gonna keep you to that promise. Even when I forget, he doesn't. So he's like, remember when you said you were gonna do this? Yeah, it's time to do it.
She gets annoyed by the fact that if you say something to me, the expectation is that you're going to do it, right? And it's not even necessarily that she's saying it to me that I have to do something or that she's going to do something for me, even if she says she's going to do something for herself or do something just in general. If it doesn't happen or she doesn't make a move towards it, I'm going to be like, hey, I thought you said you were going to do at X, Y, and Z. And I know that it annoys her quite often. So, Court, obviously, today is my birthday. Big celebration to me, turning 44 years old or 44 years young, whatever. And when you met me, I was 30, what is that? 37? 30. Wait, how old am I? 44? So 37? How would you say that I've changed in those years that since the day we met?
Honestly, there's not that it's a bad thing. There hasn't been much changes. He's been the same person, just more motivated to accomplish bigger things. He never takes a break from wanting to reach a next goal. It's just one goal after the other and how I can improve and better myself even more. And I'm like, wow, this man served 22 years in the Air Force. He is 44 and he is still finding ways to become successful and just have us live a life where we're so successful. Is so while he's consistent with who he's always been, he's just, I guess, more wiser, more confident than ever what he wants.
Now, here's a question for you. Does that annoy you sometimes?
It is quite annoying.
Why do you say that it's annoying?
While it's a good thing, when one decides to do something, I somehow get enrolled as his accomplice. So here I am, not even thinking about wanting to do something else, and I get pulled into it, and it becomes our project, our next big thing. And it's like, come on, get along with the program. We're in this together. We're improving, we're developing.
A perfect example, a perfect story of that would be last Mother's Day. And she every time I talk about this, she gets annoyed. Last Mother's Day, I decided that I was gonna go out into the yard and level the yard so that we could have grass grow in areas where it wasn't growing. And so I'm out there with doing my sand and my soil mixture, and I'm out there with the wheelbarrow, pouring things out, spreading it out. And so I'm like, hey, can you come help me? And she's like, I don't really want to, but I guess. And so she comes out there and starts doing the sand and soil mixture in the wheelbarrow so that I can go pour it. And by the end of us doing that, she was so annoyed and so pissed because it took a lot of time out of her day. And she was like, "It's Mother's Day, and you got me out here doing this." And I thought it was funny because
I didn't think it was funny. My ideal day of Mother's Day is to wake up as the queen that I am with breakfast in bed and cherries and roses and a full body alone with nobody in my ears. Here comes one. Nope. A beautiful Mother's Day is to go outside, prep the yard for the summer ahead. We may have had the best grass this summer, but it was not a part of my Mother's Day plan.
you did get the spa and stuff earlier that day. But I got a grand idea, and I was like, I'm gonna go do that. And so I didn't think it was gonna take that long, but it did. And she reminds me of it every so often.
So when it was Father's Day, I told him, come on, we got to go outside and do the yard.
But we didn't do anything.
And that's just me messing with him.
So, Courtney, let me ask you this question. If you had a friend who was single, who was looking for somebody, and you knew of a guy that was like me, what kind of advice would you give her going into the first date? And when I say that, I mean a guy that is exactly like me, the guy that I am. What kind of advice would you give her?
I would tell her to go into this date open minded, be willing to see beyond just appearance, beyond superficial stuff. There's more to a person than just how they look, how they dress, and you'll be surprised to really learn the person's character, their goals and aspiration, and how unbeknown to you that person can change your life.
So, you and I have conversations about this, and with the generation of women now who are their top three things that they're looking for in a relationship are the six figures and 6 inches. Do you think that those things really matter in a relationship?
Those are all surface level stuff. It could be all that and bring nothing to said table.
And did when you met me, I wasn't making 6 figures, right?
You weren't making six figures, but you were managing your funds. You knew what was coming in and out of your paycheck. You knew what you wanted and how you were going to get there. So,
Oh, go ahead.
go.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
And obviously, I'm not 6 foot, not even close to it. And actually, you're taller than I am, even though I don't like to give you credit for it. So, those things don't really matter if you're looking for a good, solid, stable relationship. Would you agree with that?
I definitely agree.
And so, you were, because of the culture in Belize, that Caribbean culture where the women take the lead in relationships or even in their family dynamics, the women are in taking the lead and they have that more independent role. How would you say that mindset or that framework works in a relationship with a guy like myself?
Truthfully, it wasn't very beneficial to me because while I grew up being this independent person, knew what I wanted as far as career wise, coming into a relationship with somebody that's mature, knew what they wanted and what they expect from a relationship, it was kind of a cultural shock because here I am, little Miss Independent, had that mindset of, I don't really need you, I want you. And to be in a marriage is knowing that it's not like that. You cannot be all that in a relationship. You have to pat down the masculinity and embody your feminine side and let the man be the man and lead.
But you've still been able to have your own independence within the relationship, right?
For sure. I just don't have to do it all and be it all because I have my husband. He does that. I choose what I want or what parts of independence I want.
And we have our discussions about it. And then she has her own thoughts and her own wants and her own ideas for what she wants independently of myself. But when she has those thoughts or those ideas, she typically will run them by me just to get my gauge or my thoughts on whether it would really be beneficial to her life. And also understanding that maybe sometimes she has her own ideas for how she could get to whatever point she wants to get to. But then because of the type of man that I am, and I'm always thinking about all of these different avenues and all of these different pain points and stuff like that when it comes to different things, I'm able to point out that, hey, maybe this ain't the path to go down. Maybe you go down this path and it may take you longer to get to where you want to get to, but it's going to be the most beneficial for you in the long term. What you said that when you were in Belize and you were working independently, what was the job that you were doing or the career that you were going after?
Well, I had just graduated as a LPN practical nurse, and my next steps was to become a registered nurse. So I always knew that's what I wanted. It still hasn't changed, really. I'm just at a different route in my life where the path changed, but not the goal.
And so when she came to the United States from Belize, uh, got here in December of 2019. We got married in December of 2019. She gave birth to my son or our son in, no, February of 2020, and then COVID happened in 2020, and pretty much everything in the world kind of for a year and a half plus. And by the time was set up for her to go get her nursing license here in Texas, I got orders to Germany. We moved to Germany, was there for 2 years. I ended up retiring. We came back to Texas. By her time for moving her license over, Belize to Texas had expired, so she had to go a different route. We had to go through the process of trying to figure out what was the best route for her to do that. And so, what are you in your degree? You're a senior?
I'm a senior,
How many classes you got left?
about 8, 10.
Yes, she's 8 to 10 classes away from getting her bachelor's degree and taking that next step to becoming a nurse. And so, she has a job. She has her own money. She does make some contributions to the house, but it's not like or whatever. She has like her own car note. But as far as the bills for the house, she doesn't have to worry about those things. Now she does pay groceries. She pays groceries, and even that a funny story in there. Court, would you want to tell the story, or should I tell the story?
You tell the story.
All right, so Court gets this job and rolling in the dough a little bit, and so we go out to the grocery store and we buy some lobster tails. We cook them up, fantastic. And so the next time she gets paid, she's like, "Okay, we get some more lobster tails." And so this time, I think we had got six the first time, and the next time she was like, she wanted 12. And when we bought the six, the price was like 97 each or 5.97. It was like cheap. And then the next time it was $10. $10.97 for each one. And she said she wanted 12. And I looked at her and I was like, "Are you sure?" Because I'm looking at the price. She ain't looked at the price at all. I'm looking at the price and I'm like, "Are you sure you want to get 12?" And she was like, "Yeah, I want to get 12." So, long story short, we get to the register and they bring up these lobster tails. And she looked at me and she goes, "It's $120. Like, is it so much?" And I was like, "You didn't look at the price. It had raised the price." And she was like, who was so flabbergasted that it's always like every time we go to the grocery store and we're looking at lobster tails, she's like that the last to look at the price because she doesn't want to make that same mistake again. But it's kind of difference between her and I going grocery shopping. Like I'm always looking at the price, and so there were times where we would be grocery shopping, and I'm like the prices and I'm trying to get the cheapest one or the off brand or whatever because I'm like, it's all food to me. And she was like, "No, we got to get the name brand kind." And I'm like, "Man, I ain't paying extra for this." And so when she got her job, I was like, "All right, I don't want to do this whole arguing over groceries. So you got it. You buy the groceries, and I can't say nothing about the the groceries that you buy because it's your money." Um, The reason why I say that is because a little bit of her exercising freedom within a relationship to make decisions on her own contribute to the household. Um, but obviously, like it came down to it, and for whatever particular reason she couldn't work, I could take that role on again. Wouldn't want to because obviously we would argue about prices of groceries. So, Court, have you seen since you've been married? What have you seen when you're at work or out there with your friends from work? What have you seen the difference in how our relationship is and how their relationships are, or their thought processes about relationships if they're not in relationships?
It's just looking at other people, your friends, from the inside out. It's you want a marriage, but want to be so independent and don't want to listen or reason with your husband or your boyfriend. Like, sometimes you ever listen to the problem and know that the problem is the problem. Like, you are the problem. You need to listen. You need to understand the male perspective rather than just wanting to be, oh, little miss independent in the relationship, but then complain about the relationship not working. We can be a woman, we can be a bit unrealistic. Just saying.
And have you ever told them these things?
Yeah, they still don't listen. So it's like you don't want to listen to your partner, you don't want to listen to your friend. You just gotta navigate that situation on your own and learn a reality lesson. And one day you're gonna come to realize, yeah, that was some good advice. I should have listened.
And have you any of your friends ever gotten themselves into a situation where they didn't listen to your advice and winded up on the poor end of a decision that they made?
Yes. I had a friend that purchased a certain type of car because she was interested in the market in a specific type of men that had to have this certain type of car. And her idea was, if I drive this car, then I expect nothing less than the men that I'm looking to date. Even though said friend could not afford this car note. And I was like, why would you even want to buy something like that and hardly have any money or not know how you're gonna pay for this car just to prove a point that you need a man to drive this certain kind of car? Um, just say it didn't work out well for that friend.
Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. And we had the conversation about the purchasing of that car because y'all make the same amount of money. Um, Kind of it odd that someone would put themselves in a financial situation to the point just to try to prove a point that guy has to have the same type of vehicle or better in order for them to date her. Don't you think that's a little bit irrational?
Yeah.
So, reality, she probably could have gotten a guy that had that type of vehicle or better just by being a good person, someone who was willing to humble, to not be so independent, to not be such a feminist. Because I know this person and I've had conversations with her, and yeah, that's what I picked up from her. Is that fair to say that she kind of like that?
Yes.
All right. So, Court, the last question that I wanted to ask you is that if there was one thing that you could go back and tell yourself at the beginning of your marriage, what advice would you give that Courtney?
It would definitely be to listen more and remind myself that we're a team and it's not all about me, because in the first year of our marriage, it was the Courtney show and Courtney didn't want to listen. I'm hard headed. I had to learn from my mistakes within the marriage and relationship to know that, yeah, certain stuff was just not gonna work. And I was the problem. I was the creation of my own marital problems. So definitely listen more and fight that feeling of wanting to rebel or wanting to do it my own way because I could have saved so many times, so many unnecessary arguments. But it built character.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank you, Courtney, for joining me on the podcast. Just so that everybody knows, she did not want to do this at all. She did it as a favor to me, my birthday. As I said in my previous video, Big G was out this week with holiday and things that he has going on. So I still wanted to get on here and talk a little bit. And so I asked my wife to join me. She didn't want to be on camera, which I said fine. So we set up a mic in the room and so we could have this conversation. So I want to thank everybody, including my wife, for joining me today. And if you haven't had a chance, my book is available on Amazon. It is Love, the Modern Guide to Finding and Building Fulfilling Relationships. This is a book meant to be a guide for those who are single, in the dating phase, or you were in a relationship and have come out of one and you're looking at getting back into the dating space so that you can potentially find yourself a solid partner. The book is comprised of a number of different chapters, deal with self awareness, strategic positioning within the dating market, with male energy and female energy, masculinity and femininity, dating, a number of different topics that comprise of today's dating market. It is available on Amazon. The link is in the description. And with that being said, I want to wish you all a happy holidays and thank you for joining us. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and see you next time.